Hey guys and girls, my name is Alan and welcome to this gameplay commentary. So the match we're about to watch is, well, it's one of the Apex missions that they released over the weekend. It's probably finished by now. I was planning to do this gameplay commentary and post it for Sunday, but I was actually busy on Sunday so I couldn't get it done, and then I was busy on Monday as well, so I just decided to post another pack opening video. And I don't know, I kind of felt I should have put that video up earlier because it does feature a weapon that I am using in today's video, so I kind of didn't want to ruin it if you were watching it, as a series sort of thing. So as you can see, my loadout, well, my primary weapon is a Vanquisher. I will show you the full loadout at the end of the video. As you can see, I've just started the match on my own because I was sat in the lobby for a good 5 minutes. A couple of people did join, but then as you saw, they just dropped out again. I don't really know why. I don't know. I can't really explain why. So I just thought, I'm going to start the match on my own. It's only bronze anyway, so it's not that difficult. And the reason why I'm deciding to stay here at the EZ is because I know that when players join late, they're going to spawn in, and just as I say it, they spawn in. So I might as well be here to help them out, because you always get that few seconds where you spawn in and you can't do anything, and enemies are shooting at you, and it's such a pain. So I thought I'd stay here, provide some cover fire, and look. And as you can see, full squad turns up. Well, not my squad, they're probably just randoms. The good thing about this game actually is that before you join a game, you can actually choose to not join it. So it will say, this is the match, these are the players in it, this is their loadout, and then you can decide whether you want to join them or not. And you can also pick your weapons and characters accordingly. So if you want to have a bit of team synergy, as much as you can with pubs, you can just change your loadout before you join a match, which I think is a nice touch. Whereas in ME3 you sort of just got plonked in, and if you had boosters or anything like that, consumables, you'd lose those if the game was a bust, or obviously if you join like a biotic party and you were a tech character, you'd screw with them and they would screw with you. And it's just, well, I think it's a nice little change, and it works out well for multiplayer. Right, so there's quite a lot I want to talk about today. Depending on how much time we have, I will call this video my first impressions of Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. Now, I did spend a lot of time playing ME3, and I was really excited to get my hands on this game and start playing it, and unfortunately it has disappointed me. I'm sort of working my way through the campaign, and I enjoyed the original trilogy, and that's why I decided to get Andromeda. But yeah, the story side of things is not great. It's not bad, it's not as bad as people are saying, but it's not as, I don't know, I feel like, I don't know, I was talking to a friend of mine, and the way I described it to him was, you don't have that sort of investment in the plot line as you did with 3, which is probably why it's not as enticing or gripping to start off with, which is understandable. But given the premise of the story, I still feel they could have done better. It's hard to explain. I won't talk about it because obviously today's all about multiplayer and not about single player, but that's just my thoughts, very early thoughts on the single player campaign. I haven't made too much headway yet, but that's my initial feeling on it all. I probably will do a video talking about it once I've finished it, if and when that ever comes. I always say that about all the campaigns that I play, but I never really do a video, which is, I don't know why, that probably because I get stuck into the multiplayer. Anyway, let's move on already. So as you can see, I'm playing as the Infiltrator, one of the basic classes. Just playing as, so you get 2 of each. You get a female and a male version, but they've got exactly the same setup. And what I normally do is I experiment with the one, and then once I know what I want to build for my second one, that's when I put the points to the second character. So that's what I personally do: max out one, experiment with the build, and then once I know, because you can, just like ME3, you can go evolutions, you can go up or down, A or B, whatever you want to call it. And so I decide what I want to go with, and then on second character, in this case the female, well, the female is actually my experiment class. So if I decide to rebuild the class, I'm quite happy as it is at the moment. It's still early in the game, there's plenty of other classes that I can play with, so I'm happy with what she's doing at the moment. I use her as my sniper class. I use all my infiltrators as sniper classes, or shotguns. Shotguns in this game are terrible. I will talk about that in a minute. So yeah, so as you can see, I'm using the Vanquisher, which is one of the gold weapons. Okay, you know what, let's just dial it back a bit. I sort of just jumped into this head first. I have got like a list in front of me, so I'm just going to sort of go through it. I don't have a sort of pattern or anything I'm going to talk through in particular, but I just feel like we should start from the beginning. Alright, so what's changed? Well, you can do boost jumping, which I hate in things like Call of Duty, but in this game it sort of works. However, the trade-off with having boost jumps is that simple things like mantling over objects and just climbing over boxes, such a chore. I don't understand why it's so difficult to just mantle over these things. I don't know if it's the button layout that I'm using. That's another thing. They've sort of changed the button layout as well, so it's L1, R1 to activate the third power. It's no longer triangle. Triangle still does things like deactivate devices and revive allies. You'll see several times in this video, reviving allies I don't know, it's like unless you have to be looking at the icon in order to do it. You can't just be standing over them and do it, and I think that's really stupid. So several times you sort of just melee your buddy's corpse instead of actually picking them up, which is really stupid. They've introduced auto cover, so I don't know if you've played games like Tomb Raider where as long as you get close to like an object you can just go into cover as I did there. There's no longer a button prompt to do it. It can be useful, but it can also be really annoying, especially when you're just trying to run to a certain place rather than just take cover, because you automatically just go into cover and you're bouncing off walls and crates and whatever. It's really annoying, and I'm also playing Uncharted 4 as well at the moment, so I'm constantly having to tell my brain, this game you don't have to press circle to get into cover, and then obviously when I'm playing Uncharted I do have to press cover to get into cover. It's just, I don't know, I'd like there to be more options in terms of changing the configurations and controls, but that's just not an option, unfortunately. Again, you still can't read map powers and stuff like that. Whatever they are on the menus, that's what they're set as. They've toned down the auto aim a little bit. I guess in ME3 it was a little bit strong, because sometimes you'd sort of quick scope a target and it would aim at the target behind the target you're trying to shoot at, so that was a bit annoying. So that doesn't happen as much anymore, probably because they've toned it down quite a fair bit. There are situations where a little bit stronger auto aim in CQC would be nice, but I guess it's something to work on. The one thing that does really bug me though is that, I don't know, I can't speak for other weapons, but sniping in particular, when you ADS and try and track a target, like follow them on the screen, it's really not good at all. I don't understand why that is. When you play games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, I don't know, it just smooth transition. You follow a target and you take a shot. But this game, if a target's moving, or even if it's stationary sometimes, to try and get the crosshairs directly on a specific target, like on a headshot for example, it just doesn't work properly. I don't know if it's me or if it's just PS4, but I don't know, it's hard to explain. But if you just take a sniper, try and shoot a target, aim at their head, and just, if you're not directly on them when you zoom in first time round, you sort of need to adjust it, and it just doesn't work properly. I don't know, it's really weird. I feel not very confident in sniping in this game, and I snipe quite a lot in other games, so I don't know, I think it's just I think it's just Andromeda, but I don't know, let me know in the comment section below if you face the same sort of issues and if there's a solution for it, because I can't, I don't know, I just can't seem to work it out at the moment. Maybe it's just practice that I need to put in. Okay, so moving on to the next big feature is powers. Now, Mass Effect being a spacey sci-fi sort of game, powers is sort of the centerpiece, I think, and you know, I play games like this for that particular reason. I don't play it to shoot enemies, right? That's what COD and Battlefield is for. And in ME3 I had a lot of fun using the various powers, and I never thought I would, because as I said in many other videos, that sci-fi is not really my sort of thing. But I was told to get the game by a friend, and you know, I'm really grateful that she recommended it to me, because I did enjoy it, and that's why I bought Andromeda now. But I don't know, the cooldowns are ridiculously long. I know in single player I think they're the same sort of time frame, but the difference between multiplayer and single player is that in single player you have a lot of different passive abilities, both for yourself and for your allies, and they can help reduce and increase the power, reduce the cooldowns of the powers, and also increase the damage. In multiplayer you don't have as many options like that, so the cooldowns I think are too long. They need to be brought down across the board, not just for cloak but for pretty much everything. And the damages need to be increased, because as it stands, if you try and go into a gold match, powers do very little. They do damage, but they just don't do as much as you expect them to. For example, a Barty explosion, a tech explosion, you sort of expect that to take out almost one, well, to be honest, it should be a one-hit kill on the most basic level troops. I'd expect that as a minimum. At the moment, I don't think any power combos do that. You always have to follow up with some gunfire, and I think that's really annoying. And so most of the time I just resort to shooting enemies in the face. And that leads me on to the next problem. Weapons in this game are so weak, and it's not just me that's saying it, a lot of other people are saying it as well. Some people have said it's just a balancing issue. I don't know, I feel if all the weapons are this bad, it's possible that the enemies just have too much health, and a quick and easy solution would be to just drop the health of the enemies by a certain percentage. I don't know the figures exactly, but I just feel that if all the weapons are bad, then there's gotta be a more universal solution than balancing each of the weapons separately. I mean, I'm playing bronze and I'm wrecking face with Vanquisher, one-shotting pretty much a lot of the enemies, but this is bronze. Everything's meant to be wreck face on bronze. Power's meant to wreck face, they don't always do so. Weapons need to always wreck face. This is bronze. Like, this is where you go to have fun. This isn't, you shouldn't even have to worry about killing enemies in bronze. Silver should put more of a challenge, and gold should obviously put the most challenge, and then platinum should really test you. But balancing, in my opinion, should only really take place between silver and gold. Bronze is the starting point. As I said, everything should be god tier in bronze. It's bronze after all. Silver, maybe half the things should be viable. Gold, 25%. Platinum, well, that's where boosters and consumables should be used to balance the game out, in my personal opinion. And that's how I treated it in ME3, and that's how I think it worked in ME3 quite well. For most games in ME3 bronze, I didn't have to use any consumables. Silver, if I felt like I wanted to, then I would. And then gold, I could happily play without consumables, but having consumables on just made it a little bit easier. And platinum, well, I think everyone played platinum consumables. I mean, you didn't have to, obviously, but that's not something I'd like to put myself through. So that's just me. I don't know. It's still quite early into the game. Well, we're saying that now. It's about maybe a month or so, which, I don't know, I suppose for a big project like this, I guess it isn't that much time to pass. But for a studio and you know, a developer and a publisher as big as EA and BioWare are, I feel like they should be more on top of their game. I know that it's sort of the unfortunately, it's just the sort of thing that people can do these days. Release like a half-finished game and expect consumers to just wait for patches and stuff to come out after the fact. I am disgusted with that sort of behaviour, but people pre-order. I'll admit I did pre-order this game as well, just because I played ME3, and I kind of regret my decision because the way things are, I think this game will improve in a couple of months' time. But you know, I paid full whack day one, and I feel kind of robbed, to be honest. And this is why I don't pre-order. Just to clarify, I rarely pre-order games. I do it maybe once a year, Other than that, I'll just buy them a few weeks, 3 months after, sometimes even second-hand, depending on the title, because you know, obviously I don't have a lot of money to throw around. I mean, I'm not, you know, seriously struggling or anything, but you know, if I can save a few quid here and there, I'll do so, because you know, I don't really need to get games day one. I'm not really missing out on anything. Most of the time anyway, and to be honest, a lot of the time it's worth waiting just because bug fixes and patches and all the rest of it. Okay, so I'm conscious of the time running out on this particular match. It may be that I have to do a part 2, but we'll push on, see how far we can get, and then if necessary I will record a part 2. So you can see I just hit an ammo dump, an ammo box, and in MEA it works differently to ME3 in that everyone has their own individual source. So even though you go to the same location to refill your ammo, each person has their own supply, inverted commas. So each box contains 4 power cells, so that will power your grenades, or you know, things like what's that group tactical cloak one? I can't remember, stealth grid or something. Is that what it's called, stealth grid? And 4 lots of ammo. I don't know how much ammo it is per slot, and I think it does vary with difficulty as well. But basically, each player has their own, so you can all hit the same dump, but you'll only have the same amount that you can get. But it doesn't impact the other person, so you can clean out your box, but the other person will still be able to get their own, and so on and so forth. So that's a nice little thing they've changed as well from ME3 to MEA. Equipment is handled a little bit differently. I have talked about this in one of my pack opening videos, I think, so I won't cover it again. But basically, permanent equipment can only be bought from the item store using mission funds. Again, I've talked about mission funds and strat teams in the previous video, so I won't do it again. I'll probably link both those videos in the description anyway, and possibly on the screen if I remember to. So head over to those videos if you want to hear more information about them. And consumable equipment, as in the stuff that you bring into the game. So Cobra RPG, Cobra RPG, no longer Cobra Rocket, and the reason why is because it's now a piece of crap. The RPG does very little damage. You can't run with it anymore, so if you need to get somewhere quick with it, you're screwed. You can't bring it out if you're in the middle of reloading a weapon, so if you're reloading a long weapon, you need to pull out your RPG, you're screwed. And even when you do use it, it does very little damage, and so they definitely need to buff that. It doesn't even one-hit kill bosses, which is the main reason you'd use it. So I don't know what they were thinking when they were doing that. I mean, first aid pack, same old. You don't get invincibility for a half second or whatever it was like you do in ME3. So if you use it and you're still taking fire, it's almost a waste because you're still going to take damage before you can get to cover. Self-revive works the same way, and ammo packs, I think they work the same way. I'm not too sure if they still give you that boost of damage once you activate it, but I never really use them ME3 anyway, so it's a moot point for me. Okay, so I'm conscious that the match is winding down, so I'm going to have to record a second part to cover the topics that I've missed today. But I guess time leads us nicely onto the final point I wanted to mention, and that is the length of matches. Now in ME3 it was 10 waves plus extraction, so 11 altogether, and MEA It's basically 6 waves plus extraction, so 7. Now, match lengths haven't really reduced as much as the waves would suggest. In ME3 it was about 20 something minutes for a gold game if you had a good lobby. In MEA it's about 15 minutes or thereabouts if you're in a good lobby. Unfortunately, the extraction wave is still 2 minutes long. Given the shorter number of, well, the fewer number of waves, I'd have preferred a slightly lower extraction time, maybe even a minute. I always thought it was kind of a waste, to be honest. I don't really understand the purpose of it. If you're in a good team, you'll just stand on the opposite side of the map. If you're in a bad lobby, the other three will die easy, and you'll just come over at the end. So I don't know. It's just a waste of time, in my personal opinion. Right. You can see I did finish top, but again, bronze, and I started on my own, so it doesn't really mean much. But you share everything anyway, so it's not a big deal. Only 10,000 credits for a bronze match, which is, I mean, it's easy, but it's just hardly worth the 15 minutes that you play. Especially, as I said, you can do a gold game in sort of the same amount of time. Okay, so as you can see, I was using the Vanquisher sniper rifle, only level 1. Talon as my backup, which I didn't even touch, but it's bronze, so you don't really need to worry about it too much. These are the powers. Infiltrator comes with a tactical cloak as standard, but the human ones come with sticky grenades and incinerate. I mean, the grenades do a decent amount of damage, but you can only carry a few of them, and incinerate is so weak in this game, like all the other powers they could do with the buff. Anyway, if you enjoyed the content, consider tapping that like button. I really do appreciate it. If you've got any thoughts you'd like to share with me regarding the topics I've talked about or anything that you've seen in the gameplay, then let me know in the comment section below. But until next time, until the part 2, which will probably come out, as I said, end of this week or start of next week. And also, I'm working on an Uncharted video as well, which is long overdue, but it is coming out soon, hopefully. So stay tuned if you're interested in that. But until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, take care, and I will see you later.